We're still going through the Conjuring extended universe, and we are coming home this time with Annabelle Comes Home. I've got this down on the timeline as 1968. It's a 2019 film, released the same year as The Curse of La 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 Bomba, and ultimately much better. Gary Dauberman writes and directs this one, which says to me that Gary Dauberman is actually a very good writer, but is actually quite a decent director as well, because the other films that he's written for the Conjuring universe, other people have directed. When he's got his hands on his own creation, so to speak, it's actually pretty decent. Again, it suffers from the same problem as a lot of the other films in the Conjuring universe. It is a little bit boring, but you do feel for the characters within this film, and you get attached to them, and then you're genuinely with them. If I was going to describe this, and it has been described as this before, I would describe it as a night at the museum with Annabelle and a lot of ghosts and artifacts. So basically, determined to keep Annabelle from wreaking any more havoc, and this is why I say that I should have watched Conjuring before I watched this. Determined to keep Annabelle from wreaking any more havoc, the Warrens lock her up in their artifacts room. They lock her up in an artifacts room behind sacred glass. It's been blessed by a priest and given a holy blessing. An unholy night awaits as Annabelle awakens the evil spirits that live in the room with her, and they all keep their sights on a new host, and it is the Warrens' 10-year-old daughter, Judy, in fact. So this is where we get to see Vera Farmiga again as Lorraine Warren, Patrick Wilson as Ed Warren. McKenna Grace plays Judy Warren, the young daughter, 10-year-old daughter. Madison Eisman plays Mary Ellen, who is the babysitter. Katie Sarif plays Daniela Rose, who is the babysitter's friend, who's Mary Ellen's friend. Michael Cimino plays Bob Palomeri, who is the love interest. And I feel for all of these, there's some really good set pieces in this film actually. There's one bit where there's a hellhound coming out of a cloud, and there's things moving around, and it's just genuinely quite creepy in places, but ultimately it is still quite boring. But much better, much better, and it has elements of comedy in it as well, which again is very welcome in this franchise, and it's much better than the other Annabelle films, apart from Annabelle Creation, which is an excellent film, and I could watch that over and over and over again. So it is the friend of Mary Ellen, who is Daniela. She opens the case. I'm not going to spoil why she does that, but there is a heartwarming reason she does that. She's going through some tough times, and she believes that she can do a certain thing by breaking into that room. Of course, you want to hate her at this point, because we all know, we've all followed the Warrens throughout the Conjuring universe, and we know what's contained within that room and the evils within. I'm still not quite sure I understand why she would unlock the case with the creepy doll in it, but I guess they had to get Annabelle out somewhere, and Annabelle's created her own sort of spin-off series, and I believe there's going to be an Annabelle 4 at some point. So it made sense for Annabelle to come out in this one, but I get the feeling, much like Despicable Me, the minions overtook Gru, and the minions are awful characters, whereas Gru is actually really funny and quite entertaining. I hate the minions. Same with this. I like the idea of the Warrens going around doing all these ghosty type investigations, and The Conjuring 3 is coming out as well later this year. And it's been overtaken by the doll Annabelle, because that is what apparently people want to see. Not this guy, but like I say, Annabelle creation is very, very good. Anyway, and Michael Camino plays Bob. He's like the comic relief, the love interest. It's quite sweet in the end. And I'm going to give this film a hell out of a window serenade. So you like I say, it's very much a sort of teen sort of film, and it was made for teens, so there's teens in it, and there's a bit of sweetness in there, but there's horror in there as well, genuine elements of horror. Not many loud noises, which is good for a Conjuring series. So we get back to what made the first one so interesting and genuinely sort of quite scary. So yeah, that is Annabelle Comes Home. Much better than the previous iteration of the Annabelle series, and I've got this down as 1968. It's 65% on Rotten Tomatoes, so definitely better than the average horror film. Oh, right, we'll actually get on to a good one next, because we're going to look at The Conjuring. Oof. Yeah, we made it, people. Anyway, you are the Cheap Shot Nation. You are watching Cheap Shot Entertainment, and more importantly, you're watching the Quick Shot Reviews channel, which is the dedicated movie channel. I've enjoyed doing these things. I hope you're enjoying the videos enough to like and subscribe. And if you do subscribe, and more people subscribe, I'm going to stop asking you to do that, because we're going to be sitting pretty at that point. I will see you next time. We're going to look at The Conjuring next. The first one, the original, the one that started it all off. It's going to be a good one. I will see you next time. Goodbye.
Hiya.